Welcome to another episode of Mom Knows Ball. I'm Melinda King, also known as Mom, and this is our All Bama episode. And by All Bama, we mean we are going to break down the Alabama-Georgia game last night, which, by the way, if you didn't catch it, Alabama won. And so there's a lot to talk about, so we're going to get right to it. Okay, let's talk about how Alabama went to Athens, Georgia, and they just handled their business. From Georgia's first possession, where our defense forced a 3 and out, from that moment, we were in total control. I mean, the score is tight, but Bama led the entire game. So first possession on Georgia, 3 and out, then Ty Simpson takes the field and he's cooking. I mean, it was like magic from the moment he touched the ball. We converted our first 7 third down conversions in a visitor stadium with a bunch of students in a stadium that had not lost a game, I think, and had 33 straight victories. So yeah, and we converted, our first 7 third downs. We scored on our first possession. Georgia came back out. They did not score. We scored on our second possession. And I got some stats for you. I talked about how I really wanted Alabama to get their running game going. So that didn't happen in the way I wanted it to, but it happened when we needed it to, because we only rushed for 117 yards. But Ty Simpson was 12 of 19 for third down conversions. And I mentioned, he got his first 7. He was a major leader on that field. I mean, he won the game with his arm. And I talked about the run the game, run the ball. Well, Ty threw for 276 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he ran for another touchdown. So let's talk about some other things that were like the real big keys to the game. We've already established it was Ty. We talked about Alabama needed to win the turnover battle, and we did. I said, let's not have a turnover and let's force one on Georgia, and we did. And out of that turnover, we got 3 points, which that's the difference in the score of the game, the final score of the game. And time of possession, we had the ball 10 minutes more than Georgia. When you control time of possession like that, you really should be winning the game. So let's talk about our defense. What our defense did was they made Hunter Stockton, the Georgia quarterback, look pedestrian compared to Ty Simpson. So I got my stats. Hunter Stockton was 13 of 20 in passing and for a total of 130 yards. Again, Ty Simpson, 24 of 38 passes completed for 276 yards. Okay, but Georgia ain't just going to sit there and let us just beat them down, even though we dominated. And I like to call any victory over an SEC team a beatdown. So Georgia started, they were running the ball. I had said I wanted us to limit the Georgia backs to something like 3 yards per carry, and they more than doubled that at 6.9 yards per carry. But it really just, because they couldn't get the passing game going, it really just limited their capacity and the plays that they were going to draw up. And then that helped our defense. So let's talk about some shout outs for the game. My favorite is Caden Proctor. Caden Proctor caught a 11-yard screen pass. Caden Proctor is 6'7", 369 pounds, we say. I mean, it could be 375. We keep talking about our running game. Caden Proctor might be our next running back, wide receiver. I just love that. Okay. Our offensive coordinator, Ryan Grubb, I liked how he put together a plan that had a number of short passes, a lot of screen passes, because again, we weren't getting our traditional running game going. And of course, you got to shout out Ty Simpson, his leadership, the speech he gave the team before the game, where he said it's us against the world, and the way that he hung in that game and how he stood up and on this big playing field. This is his first time playing in an SEC stadium that's not Alabama. And he showed his leadership. He showed that he is very comfortable being the quarterback at the University of Alabama. So I am giving some side eyes, okay? Got a couple side eyes. Kirby Smart, you're 1 of 7 against Alabama. So if you want me to break that down, that means Alabama has beat Kirby Smart at Georgia 7 times to them beating us once. And that was a big game. They beat us in a natty, but still 7-1. I'll take those odds. And then when you compare it to, let's see, Kirby is 107-13 against everybody else. So that means he has won 107 games against other teams and only lost 13, but he's only beat us once out of 8 games. So again, I'll take those odds. And then we also ended a streak. What is this? 33 straight wins the Georgia Bulldogs have had at home in Athens. So that's why they're not used to losing at home. And I feel your pain, but I don't really care, but I do feel it. So some other things to side eye. We used all of our first half timeouts in the first quarter. So, when we were rushing with things, we didn't have any timeouts. So because if we hadn't gotten the ball off in some instances, we would have had to delay a game. So we're going to work on that. And I do want to our offensive linemen and our running backs to let's just run. Let's just work a little bit on our running game. Again, it did what it needed to do in this game, but it would be good if we had a little bit more balance between the passing game and the running game. And I have no idea what happened on that field goal attempt. I mean, you missed some, but I'm not sure. Like I've been trying to figure out what, where the laces turned the wrong way. I don't know. But yeah. So look, we got Vandy next week, and we cannot look past Vandy because we did last year. We know what happened. Vandy's coming in 5-0, and they've got a option style offense. That quarterback, he's on the Heisman watch list along with Ty Simpson, who is now on the Heisman watch list. Who would have thought? And then with Vandy, College Game Day is coming to Tuscaloosa for the Alabama Vandy game. If you had said that 2 years ago, people would have been like, it must be a slow sports day. But yeah, they're coming because that game has that much meaning now because Vandy is undefeated and doing well in the SEC. So let's see what else was good and what else was bad. Okay, my final thoughts on the Alabama-Georgia game. I have been critical of the coaches especially Kane Womack, our defensive coordinator. And on that Georgia touchdown, when they were blitzing both the safeties and they left Jackson out there by himself, I was like, oh, here we go. Here we go again. But then I looked at him they showed him on the sidelines and he was like, that's my bad, my bad. So, and then you learn from that. So, I'm gonna say Kane Womack, we good. We good. Our defense can work on some things, but when they needed to, they showed up. So, and I tell you what was so cute to me when Ty Simpson was leaving the stadium, and he's always so serious, and he always talks about his faith. He was giving the Georgia fans the pageant wave. That was so cute. I was like, oh, Ty. Okay, so this ends another exciting episode of the Alabama edition of Mom Knows Ball. We will record the Jacksonville Jaguar edition tomorrow because they don't play until later tonight. And so we're going to put out the Alabama edition because we know everybody wants to anything pertaining to that game. And then we'll put out the Jaguar edition separate. So if you like both teams, you're in luck. But this is all Bama. And also I want to say, everybody knows I'm Roll Tide for life. I, like many others, were critical of some of the decisions that, have been made regarding how we shown up. But I have never, ever questioned Alabama's talent. Any game that anybody asked me, I don't care what game, who we're playing, they were like, well, who do you think is going to win? I always say the same thing. If our players play their best, they beat everybody, every time. And I absolutely still believe that. Okay, so Alabama, remember, this is what's on the line. Remember, I made the declaration. If you win the rest of your regular season games, these are the concessions I'm going to make. I'm going to give up drinking wine for a year. I am going to give up buying shoes for a year. And we are getting into boot season, and I love boots. My family knows that. So, I'm going to stop eating chicken fingers for good because I don't need to be eating that fried food anyway. And I'm going to stop watching reality television. But last week, The Golden Bachelor got me. So I don't know. So like, subscribe, share, comment. We love you. We love your support that you give us. I'm Mom. I know ball. And roll tide, y'all. Roll tide.